they won't have time because that's when the storm surge arrives. It can precede the landfall by 8 to 10 hours sometimes in the Gulf, so they've got to get out this morning on the Gulf Coast. That said, by the time it comes through, it looks like it's going to be south of Orlando now. That's at least the model consensus. It will weaken to a Cat 1 before emerging over the Atlantic Ocean once we get into about Thursday afternoon. So it's going to be a slow trek from 2 a.m. over here on the Tampa side to lunchtime on the East Coast side. And all the while, we're going to have a band of very heavy rain developing. I do see us having wind impacts here across central Florida where we'll likely lose power and have some limbs and maybe even some trees down. But the water that is going to come out of the clouds is going to be the big impact for our region. It's going to be a widespread flooding event north of the track, reminiscent of Hurricane Ian, because as this moves north, it's going to interact with the cold front, changing the shape of the system and wringing out a lot of the water right over the area. The morning spaghetti models take it up through Bradenton, maybe even as far south as Charlotte and Lee counties. That said, the European model, the GFS model, persistent on taking it into Tampa Bay. So time will tell, but if it does go south, it will spare Tampa Bay of the worst of the surge. That said, while they benefit, it'll be a detriment from Bradenton, Anna Maria Island, all the way down to Port Charlotte, where another very impactful storm surge event would be in progress. We've had tornadoes across South Florida overnight, and while we have a general light rain now, with a couple of pockets of heavier rain rolling up I-95, we'll see a tornado threat emerging this afternoon for our region. During the day, 3 to 5 inches of rain possible through midnight, but the big impactful rain will come from the core of the hurricane coming up I-4 after 3 a.m. So between 3 a.m. and about 8 a.m. tomorrow morning, that's when we'll start to see that acute flooding that we'll need to take action from. If you flooded during Hurricane Ian, you've got today to get those sandbags and shore up your property. We may see the same thing happening again. Okay, that is the latest from Hurricane Milton. We'll talk about impacts county by county coming up. In the meantime, though, let's take a look at our traffic. No school today, but still some folks on the road.
Yeah, absolutely, Brooks. Let's go and take a look at Flagler Beach right now. So on I-95, if you're going north or southbound that spot, you'll see the roads are a little shiny there because of some rain that we're already seeing. But if you do need to evacuate, you want to leave right now. Now's the time to do it because traffic-wise, things are looking good. There's no major issues to report. I-95, though, southbound, just south of Daytona International Speedway, right in the Port Orange area, there was a crash earlier reported in the southbound lanes that was slowing people down. They have reopened that, so that shouldn't cause any major delays this morning. So at least that is some good news. Really, for the Orlando Metro, there is no traffic issues to report. So that is some good news this morning. You can see the cameras, though, down the Tampa St. Pete area right now. So on I-95, if you're going north or southbound that spot, you'll see the roads are a little shiny there because of some rain that we're already seeing. But if you do need to evacuate, you want to leave right now. Now's the time to do it because traffic-wise, things are looking good. There's no major issues to report.
To evacuate this morning, and Marley Kemper is live in the Fox 35 Storm Team Thunder truck.
Marley, good morning to you. It's good to see you this morning. Their evacuation order goes into effect at 8 a.m. in Flagler County, right?
Danielle, Ryan, good morning. There's lots of evacuations rolling out for Central Florida, so make sure that you're, one, knowing if you are in those areas, but then two, heeding those warnings. We wouldn't tell you something if it isn't absolutely essential and if it's not what officials are asking of residents. So for sure with Flagler County, those evacuations start at 8 a.m. this morning. Take a look at this map so you can see really that widespread area all in the red there. I'll list off a few important ones to note. Residents living in mobile homes and RVs countywide. Yesterday, I was at an RV park in Orange County, and I talked to the Orange County fire chief, and he said, listen, if you don't think that your RVs or your mobile homes can withstand these winds and these flooding, you need to make a decision that's best for you and your family's safety, and if that means evacuating, he recommended that. So in these areas, it's mandatory, so you need to make sure that you are heeding this warning. It's for your safety and your protection. The entire island from the St. Johns County line to the Volusia County line, Marine Land through Flagler County Beach, and I'll name a few other spots as well, the Polo Club West to Sweet Bottom Plantation properties along Lexington Court, and then Ashland Way that back up to Bull Creek. So there's lots of areas there in that red that you can see. Now, an emergency evacuation shelter will also open at Rimfire Elementary School at 8 this morning. This is for the general public, anybody with special needs, and pets as well. We're not here to scare you. We want to make sure that we are getting the facts out to you so you know how and when you need to make the decisions that are going to be best for your family to keep you safe. So make sure that you're doing that. Let me point over the camera while we are here on the road in the Thunder Truck. It's been rainy off and on a lot through Volusia County. Up in Flagler County, it wasn't raining too bad. And then once we got back to Seminole, it wasn't raining too bad as well. Traffic has definitely picked up quite a bit as more people are trying to evacuate, or maybe they're going to work. I'm not sure what everybody's doing on the roads here. But definitely with these evacuations, you'll see that for sure. But just again, another reminder, you want to make sure that you are listening to these evacuations. They are mandatory, and we're not saying it, if it wasn't what officials were really wanting people to do. But for now, we're reporting live from the Thunder Truck, Marley Capper, Fox 35 News.
Really good information, Marley. Thank you so much for that. Volusia County will also begin mandatory evacuation orders at 8 o'clock this morning. Those orders apply to anyone in Zone A, which is east of the Intracoastal Waterway, and all manufactured and mobile homes. There's also a curfew from 8 tonight until 8 a.m. tomorrow. 7 shelters are activated. 2 of them are special needs shelters. We should also add here that right now, communities all across Central Florida are bracing for what is expected to be a major flood event as well.
Yeah, different preparations in different counties. In Osceola County, there's a restaurant just finished helping with Hurricane Helene. Let's check in with David Martin. He continues the team coverage live from Jimmy Bear's Barbecue in St. Cloud. David, I love the story of what they did at the Big Bend, and they're getting ready to do similar stuff here.
Yeah, if you're just waking up with us right now, Jimmy Bear's Barbecue in St. Cloud is the place to come down and get your meat for the week. Jimmy Bear's is named after the owner's father. This is Vinny Barber back here is the owner, and his dad's name is Jimmy Bear. Vinny, do I have that right this morning? Your dad, Jimmy Bear?
Yeah, Jimmy Bear was the man.
He was the man.
He was the man.
During Hurricane Katrina.
He went up to Biloxi, Mississippi and fed people all afternoon long, him and a pastor from here, another guy. That's what my inspiration was. What would my dad do?
Excellent.
Yep.
And just recently we had video of this. You were up in the Big Bend helping people from Hurricane Helene. In about 30 seconds, explain what you did.
Just with the help from others, we went up there and tried to feed as many people as we possibly could. We went to Steenahatchee, went to Perry, Florida. We went to Gina, I think it's called, or Gina, or whatever it was. And then we went down to Crystal River, and people were genuinely so happy to see us and get a hot meal. And when we ran out of food in Crystal River on Sunday, people that had given us money, we gave that money to those people. That's what we did.
It's amazing.
And just from the
generosity. Yeah. What are you doing right now?
Just pulling some pork, getting ready for what we're going to need for the next round. And met a good partner yesterday, City Kia, who's jumping in, going to help us fund the next round, be a big part of it.
Wow.
And they're going to help us some future stuff as well. Those of you that are donating to the Hurricane Fund, remember, it's not over next week.
No.
It's going to be weeks. Think about their Thanksgiving, their Christmas.
Yeah, good point. Yep. This is an ongoing need. All right, just so you know, Jimmy Bear's Barbecue in Osceola County, St. Cloud here is open today. Oh, thank you very much, my friend. Until when are you open? 9 o'clock tonight?
You'll be open from 11:30 to 9, and they can go to our GoFundMe page to make donations for Hurricane Milton, or they can stop in the restaurant and drop it here. Either way, we'll make sure it gets to the right place.
You stay safe on Thursday?
You as well.
We'll be back in action on Friday, I presume?
Yeah, absolutely. God willing.
All right, my friend. Thank you very much.
You bet. Thank you, brother.
Vinny Barber from Jimmy Bear's Barbecue in St. Cloud. Fantastic barbecue. Come down and get a slab of meat for the week. Thank you.
That's a great idea. Love what he's doing.
For sure, absolutely. 6:42. Our hurricane coverage continues. Coming up right after this break, we do want to let you know we're following Milton for you every step of the way as this major storm approaches the Gulf Coast.
So much more to bring you. Brooks and Jess will join us next, timing out today's expected landfall and what you should prepare for it. We do want to wish happy birthday out there as well if you are celebrating a busy birthday.
All right, so as they transition, we are staying on Milton, giving you a live look. 6:42 here on the East Coast, downtown Orlando, and transitioning as we continue to show you different cameras. This is a live look out in St. Petersburg, Florida. So wanting to show you some of the many live images we are getting. I do want to get back to this poll we've been conducting this Wednesday morning. You can take part by scanning the QR code on your screen to let us know how you have established a plan for Hurricane Milton. Right now, 49% of you saying you are sheltering in place, while 35% are saying you are not in the path of the storm. We're going to go to our third 2-minute commercial break of the hour. When we come back, checking in with our Fox 13 Tampa team as we continue with live extension.
Em ngại em chả ngại thằng nào ở đây hết. Cứ đụng em xem. Đụng xem em cho khỏi làm ở đây luôn. Đứng đây quay cho anh. Cô đây với cháu. Kẻ riêng thằng nào mà đụng tao hôm nay nhá. Cho mất làm đoàn đây luôn. Chưa tao ngán bất kỳ một thằng nào ở đây. Xuống bên việc làm Hà Nội Lê Dự thì các bạn sẽ đưa đón như này nhá. Và các bạn sẽ không mất bất cứ khoản chi phí nào. Hôm nay Lê Dự sẽ đón 4 cô đến từ Thái Nguyên. Và lúc nãy cô có xuống tại bến xe Mỹ Đình thì không biết là mấy cái người xôm kia có nói gì cô? Không.
Lấy tiền riêng nhà, úp vào tù kết quả là đuổi luôn.
Đang bảo với cô này sao hôm nay đi đâu mà ăn mặc không bảnh tỏn.
À hôm nay có việc quan trọng mà.
Được khách à?
Khách gì đâu.
Anh ấy chả bao giờ được gặp khách hàng cả. Ở nhà chỉ bị coi như trẻ con thôi.
Thế có vấn đề gì gặp tôi đây?
Tôi biết ông rất giỏi trong việc kinh doanh, nên là muốn học hỏi ông chút kinh nghiệm. Nhân tiện nhà tôi có chuyến hàng này, ông ra xem nào, có gì góp ý tôi với.
Welcome back to Live Now from Fox. I'm Jeannie Francine. 6:45 here on the East Coast this Wednesday morning. I want to briefly get back to this poll. We have some new numbers coming in now. Up to 50% of people saying they are sheltering in place as we continue to track Hurricane Milton, now a Category 5 storm. A new camera feed we have in 2-hour Live Now from Fox Studios. And this one is Tampa, Florida. And you can see rain already coming down, slick roadways in this area. As we work to keep you safe and informed, let's check in again with our Fox 13 Tampa team as they do continue with team coverage.
Welcome, everybody. I'm Russell Rhodes.
And I'm Laura Moody. Good morning, everybody. Let's get straight to Dave right now for the latest on Milton.
Yeah, let's show you the rainfall first. This rain that we're getting this morning is out ahead, believe it or not, of Milton. This isn't even, this is just a little bowling ball of convection, we're going to call it. Raining heavily around Port Charlotte, and that rain extends through the Arcadia area. It's all just kind of lifting south to north, and notice all the heavy rain in and around the Tampa Bay area. So we don't have any wind right now, any significant wind, but we do have a bunch of rain, and it's all going to continue. And as the day moves along, the rain's going to get heavier and heavier, and then the winds will start to play in once we get into the afternoon hours. A couple of things to note. Number one, it's still a Category 5 hurricane. I think it has reached its max intensity, though, because I can look at the center of the storm and you can see the eye disappearing, as I believe it's undergoing another eye wall replacement cycle. So what that will happen with that is, as that eye collapses upon itself, it's going to weaken. It's going to probably drop at least 20 miles per hour in wind. And you go, okay, that's good. That's good. Yeah, okay, on one hand it is good, but these storms don't lose energy, okay? They just transfer their energy. So what it's going to do is transfer that wind and that energy into making the wind field larger. So the tropical storm force winds, the hurricane force winds will go out a further distance. That's what it's doing with this eye wall replacement cycle. It's going to transfer some of that energy. As far as the computer models go, they've been locked into the west coast of Florida for days. They are all now between really Pinellas County and Sarasota County. That's where the model consensus line is. That's where the forecast track is. Now, what the Hurricane Center is going to do between now and landfall is very, very minor tweaks. 10 miles here, 10 miles there. It will stay within that cone. So from Pinellas to to Sarasota. Southern Sarasota still has that chance for a landfall, but we're honing it in mostly between Bradenton and Sarasota right now. So that's obviously a huge impact. This is the deal real quick. I'm going to give it back to you guys, and we'll go into more details in a few minutes. Oh, Jen, in a second. Hold on. The Category 3 or 4 winds, if it makes landfall like that, will only be felt by those where it makes landfall. The highest storm surge will be south of where it makes landfall, and the heaviest rain by far will be to the north of where it makes landfall. So even if you're not in a storm surge problem, you're in a rainfall problem, and I'm going to explain all this to you coming up in just a few minutes. Okay, Jen?
All right, Dave, thank you. And now is the time to evacuate if you haven't already. We're keeping a watch along I-4 and I-75, a lot of the main thoroughfares that drivers will be using if they are leaving the Tampa Bay area. So this is I-4 in the area of US 27, tracking that eastbound traffic, not seeing a whole lot of it just yet. We saw it was really busy yesterday morning, so a lot of people heeded the warnings then. And where are my traffic cameras? Here's one, the Sunshine Skyway Bridge. Yes, all the bridges are open. Just a reminder that they will shut down the Sunshine Skyway Bridge once we see sustained winds of 45 miles per hour. The rest of the bridges, like the Courtney Campbell and the Howard Franklin, will close once conditions get worse and we're starting to see some water pool onto the bridges. That's when they will close. A reminder that tolls have been suspended by order of the governor, and that's going to last for the next week or so. Emergency shoulder use is in effect eastbound along I-4 from I-75 to Champions Gate. Northbound along I-75, emergency shoulder use is enacted from I-4 over to I-10. And remember, if you do need to evacuate and you don't have a vehicle, you can use Uber. They're offering free Uber rides with the promo code Milton Relief, and you can use that and you can get to any of the shelters so you can stay safe. Laura? All right, Jen, thank you. And if you're still having a hard time finding gas this morning, don't worry. More is on the way. Stations have been running dry all week, but Governor DeSantis says the supply isn't the problem. They've been rushing to get those fuel trucks dispatched from Port Tampa Bay. And pay attention before you pump. Some stations might be out of regular or premium. Other stations are reserving pumps for first responders. And this might help you, too. The Gas Buddy app, Matt McClellan talked about this yesterday, will tell you which gas stations do have gas in your area. That's free to download.
Well, we're now getting an update from Pinellas County, where the barrier islands are bracing for the storm.
And Fox 13's Virginia Gonzalez is live out there with more on some of these last-minute storm preps. Gina, good morning.
Laura, Russell, good morning to you. Yeah, I can tell you it is a ghost town as you drive through some of these coastal cities across Pinellas County. The rain obviously coming down hard right now. We took cover under a gas station, which is right off you get you get off the Courtney Campbell heading into Clearwater. And really behind me, this is what a lot of these businesses look like for miles. Boarded up windows, sandbags on the ground, and gas stations. I just heard you talk about a lot of them just sealed up at this point. Now, access to the barrier islands in Pinellas is officially closed to everyone. That was effective beginning at 7 p.m. last night until further notice. Pinellas County utilities are also restricting potable water service on the barrier islands beginning at 10 this morning from Sand Key South to Fort DeSoto due to Hurricane Milton approaching. So customers will experience very low pressure, but officials say no one should be there anyway. Meanwhile, the county has opened additional shelters as more residents heed those evacuation warnings. Those include a new shelter at Melrose Elementary in St. Pete and Bel Air Elementary in Clearwater, bringing the total number of emergency shelters open to 10. They said more than 5,000 people were at those shelters as of last night. And Representative Kathy Castor says that is welcome news given the fact that the National Hurricane Center is currently forecasting 10 to 15 feet of storm surge for parts of Pinellas between tonight and tomorrow, which is unimaginable for these coastal communities and really not survivable.
The National Hurricane Center is talking about that. Hurricane Helene was a devastating surge with little rain and not a lot of high winds. But this is the triple threat that we have feared for decades and decades.
Now, another concern, specifically in St. Pete, are cranes towering over construction sites at the moment. City crews talk to developers and visit construction sites before each storm, but they say Milton's wind gusts will just be unprecedented. They are just worried about certain specific sites in general. Those include 400 Central, 275 First Avenue North, 1000 First Avenue, and 101 Main Street in the Carillon Parkway area. They say if you live near any of those construction sites, leave or move to an inner room without windows while the storm passes, because there really could be potential crane malfunctions. Now, St. Pete Mayor Ken Welch is also expected to make a pretty big decision within the next couple of hours. He's going to decide whether or not to shut down 2 of the city's 3 sewer plants, which would mean more than half of St. Pete would not be able to flush the toilets or shower for at least 24 hours. I know some people were trying to hunker down in those tall, high-rise buildings. So we're going to learn more about that later today. We'll send it back to you.
Gonzalez live for us this morning. Regina, thank you. All right, let's go back to Sarasota County now, which could take a direct hit from Hurricane Milton.
We're joined now by Sandra Tepu-Mane with Sarasota County Emergency Management. Good morning.
Good morning.
We understand you've extended the evacuation order to level 3 now, right?
Yes, correct. So yesterday we added level C. So now we're at level A, level B, level C. Anybody that lives in mobile manufactured home, regardless of where they live in the county, and then also those that live on
The latest we've heard is that the storm seems to be tracking for landfall between Sarasota and Bradenton. We know that can change, but that's where we are this morning. What's your message to the people in Sarasota County?
Yeah, so my message this morning, I want to talk to you. I am an emergency manager, and I lead the program here at the county, but I want to talk to you this morning as a mother, as a daughter, and as a citizen here in the county of Sarasota. This is going to be a dangerous storm. You do not want to be in any of these evacuation levels and be able to be in a situation where you're putting yourself and your family at risk. We had a lot of questions still about should I evacuate, should I not evacuate? If you are in doubt, we encourage you to do that. There is still a few hours left. We have evacuation centers open. You can get there safely. It is better to weather the storm in a place that you know you're going to be safe if you have any questions. And we're getting questions about people who live along creeks, along rivers. If you're in a level A, you need to particularly leave. You are not going to be able to survive storm surge of 15 feet.
Let's talk about the evacuation centers, because I know a lot of people hesitate because they just don't want to do that.
Yes.
But they are available, and you still got space in them?
We do. Yeah, we do. So there are, and if you go to our website at scgov.net, the full list is there. We have 11 centers open this morning, and there is still room. We ask that you bring your pets. Do not leave your pets at your home. If you have supplies, that is a wonderful thing. We do have some extra supplies on hand for your pet if needed. But please bring, things for sleeping, because there are no cots in those facilities. So it's not going to be particularly comfortable, but it's still going to be better than, weathering this in your home if you are in one of those evacuation levels.
What are you telling folks that live in the out on the barrier islands? Get out, be out.
Yeah, absolutely. Get out and be out. We've been sending teams of first responders and different teams door to door to be able to let people know that this is not something that they want to contend with. Hurricane Helene, we just had that a few weeks ago. That was only 5 to 6 feet of storm surge. 10 feet, even if we get the low end of the forecast, 10 feet is going to demolish many homes out there, damage structures. We don't want anyone trying to swim out of their house for this event. It is not worth staying there. Please leave if you are on a barrier island or anywhere near the intercoastal way, rivers, creeks. This is going to be a serious storm for Sarasota County.
I know that one of the things you've been trying to do in these last few days is get that debris from Helene out of there ahead of the storm. What's the success rate on that? Do you know?
Yeah, so, that's just been a huge challenge. It's been a huge challenge for all of the counties that were impacted by Helene. Typically, we get weeks, if not months, to clean up after storms, and we had just a couple of days. And it was a tremendous event. It created a lot of damage. And so people, had damages to their homes and businesses, and so there was a lot of piles to clean up. So we did everything that we could, working with our team here. Collection teams were out even yesterday, picking up debris and bringing them over to the landfill. So, we appreciate, we heard great stories of neighbors helping out neighbors and getting pickup trucks and helping each other try to get debris over to the landfill. So we appreciate that. But, we did the best that we could. We did hear that there was some areas, especially Siesta Key and along the Keys, that were cleared yesterday. So I think we made some progress, did the best that we could.
Good.
So a great detailed interview there conducted by Fox 13 Tampa. 6:58 here on the East Coast and giving you a live look out in St. Petersburg, Florida. It is raining in that area, and right before I showed you this camera, there was a lot of lightning as well. So we will continue to monitor these camera shots throughout the morning. We're going to go ahead and take our final 2-minute commercial break of the hour.
Kính Đức Già và cả một
Dung ơi, tỷ lệ trên 30%. Thực ra nhá, Dung nghĩ là theo quan điểm Dung em là ngay sau khi Biển Đông mà dậy sóng á, xung đột xảy ra Biển Đông đó chính thức.
Em Đức tuyên bố rằng
Welcome back to Live Now from Fox. We have reached the 7 o'clock hour here on the East Coast. Good morning to you if you're just now tuning in. Hurricane Milton, now a Category 5 storm, and the city of Treasure Island says no one will be allowed access onto Treasure Island except emergency personnel. Those still on the island can leave, but will not be permitted back until it's safe. Joining us live this morning to further discuss is the City of Treasure Island Public Information Officer, Jason Beisel. Good morning to you, Jason. A pleasure to speak with you here.
Good morning.
So I know this is a fluid situation. I would love to know what preparations have already been underway. You all are making this hard stance that no one is allowed onto the City of Treasure Island because of the ramifications that could happen if they do.
Yeah, we've been telling people since about 2 days ago to get off the island, to evacuate. And as you can see from that drone video, it looks like a lot of people are heeding those warnings. Yesterday, we were around the island. It's pretty much of a ghost town. And this morning, as I came back onto the island to get more stuff as we prepare to leave ourselves to go to our emergency operations center in St. Pete, just still nobody here. So I think a lot of people are heeding those warnings after they saw what Helene did, the storm surge that came in. We had 4 confirmed deaths here in the city of Treasure Island alone from Helene. So I think people got a wake-up call and said, this is not a storm to mess around with, since the winds are going to be stronger. There's all this debris around that could be turned into projectiles, and the storm surge is supposed to be a lot more. So we're just praying it's not as bad as they're saying, but right now, we're just expecting the worst.
Yeah, I'm glad you provided that perspective, Jason, because for those who aren't from Florida, I'm not from Florida. This is honestly my first major hurricane being in Orlando, and we're not even getting that direct hit. We're going to get remnants from it. But from those that live in other states, they're hearing this and seeing it in real time, and they're like, okay, well, why are people being forced out? But you just put it perfectly. Helene killed 4 people in that area. We've seen the death toll across the U.S. surpass 200 from Helene. And then if we're being honest, some people haven't even finished the cleanup process from Helene, and now this storm is about to hit. I mean, what are you seeing in real time? Families trying to put the pieces together when another storm is already about to hit tonight.
em biết là gì rồi, em biết
People
gì rồi.
are weary. People are tired. People are frustrated. They're scared. I mean, we just went through 2 weeks of, or a week and a half. I've lost the track of time because we've been at this for so long now. Of Helene, and people trying to clean up their homes and started that cleanup process and that recovery process. Our Sunset Beach neighborhood still didn't have vehicle access because of all the sand. There was like 6 feet of sand inside homes, and we're trying to get that sand out of the way so they could get vehicle access to get in there and start cleaning up their homes. And then now we got this. We go into preparation, so people are scared. They don't know what they're going to come back to. They don't know if this debris is going to destroy their home along with the storm surge. We just don't know what this city is going to look like when it's all said and done. So we're just all standing together, and we're just going to work through this. We're going to stay together, and we'll recover after this passes. We just want to, what makes it more worrisome is just this waiting pattern. We have been in this waiting pattern for the storm to get here, and just the anxiety of not knowing what's going to happen. It's just at this point, it's like, get this storm through, let's get back on this island, let's get the recovery process started, and it's going to be a long one. We don't know how much, what we're going to come back to, but our emergency personnel will get back on the island as soon as the storm passes, as soon as it's safe, and start the recovery process.
Absolutely. I know you're kind of getting choked up, Jason. I'm trying to hold it together with you. I mean, prayers are with you and your community at this hour. I know many people think of Treasure Island as that tourist hotspot. They see the beautiful sand, they see the beautiful beaches, but families live there. And it's kind of hard to think of the cleanup and recovery process when you're in it real time. You're like, let me just get through the next 24 hours. Let me just make sure I can see the sunrise the next day. I wanted to pivot, though, Jason, and mention you were talking about keeping emergency personnel safe. And people from across the globe have been in support of this because they say it's not fair for emergency personnel to have to answer calls to people who should have evacuated a long time ago, and now they're putting themselves in harm's way. What led to the city making this smart decision?
Well, we're a barrier island, and we're evacuation zone A. So anytime a hurricane approaches us, we have to get our resources and our emergency personnel off, because like last storm that didn't even directly hit us, the whole island goes underwater basically. And so we have to protect our assets. We have to protect the apparatus of our police and fire and our personnel. So that's why we tell people, we're not joking when we say get out, because when the storm hits, just like when Helene happened, when we were in the emergency operations center, you got calls from people screaming that water was coming in their house and they needed someone to save them. And we have to tell them, we cannot come get you until conditions are favorable for us to get back on this island. And so they're stuck, they're alone. It's water's coming in their home. It's probably no electricity. And so it's got to be a scary incident. So just protect yourself and don't go through that. And so we have to protect our emergency personnel. So that's why we move off the island over into a secure location, an emergency operations center in the city of St. Petersburg, just right to the east of us here across the bridge. And so that's what we do. And then as soon as the winds die down and burst light, if we can get on here, we have all the resources from FWC and all them here in case we need some boats, in case some of our bridges, take a hit. We got boats ready to come on as soon as the storm passes to start the rescue operations.
Well, Jason, I know I'm not alone. I appreciate your candidness and you just bearing your heart. Like I said, when you started to get choked up, I had to catch a tear in my own eye just because this is real and people are feeling it. And you can see all of the images. The images will continue days after Milton makes landfall. But to actually be living it, to walk into your home and to smell the mildew and to see the mold, it's just totally different. So I can only imagine. If you don't mind sharing, I know, you're doing this interview with us right now, but your own safety is top of mind for us here on Live Now from Fox. What do the next few hours look like for you and your family? Have you all already evacuated? Are you all having to stay on the island? What does that look like?
Well, I'm going on I think day 17 of work. Luckily, most of my family, all of them live up in Indianapolis, Indiana, so they're not around here. But my significant other and my dog, I live in an area of St. Petersburg that is a Zone X, so it's not prone to. It's one of the few areas not prone to flooding. So they're going to a friend's house. Staying with them. They're all hunkering down during the storm, and then I worry about my house. I worry about my family, but you got to keep going. You got a job to do to keep this community safe. So I don't mean to get choked up. It's just been a long couple weeks, but you just got to keep going. And you at this time, you worry about yourself, but you got so many others to worry about and keep safe. So that's what we're here to do.
Absolutely. And you know what? It's okay, because it's okay to be tired. It's okay to feel that emotion. Like I said, people have been going from back to back to back to back. And again, I know people are looking at you and hearing your story, but they also are recognizing that you are one of the many heroes in this situation, Jason. So we appreciate you. We appreciate your work, and you and your family and the community definitely have our prayers. I'm going to let you go because I know you have other interviews you have to do, but definitely we'll be checking back in with you once it's safe time and safe place for you. And if you need anything, we're just a phone call away. Thank you so much.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. I want to give you another live look at the system just to put everything into perspective that Jason was sharing. You can see the size, the magnitude, the strength of Milton. It is a Category 5 hurricane right now, and meteorologists and weather experts, they are saying it could decrease in strength, but you never really know. I mean, people weren't expecting Milton to regain Category 5 strength yesterday, so this is an ebb and flow situation, a fluid situation, but you'll be informed right here on Live Now from Fox. 7:09 here on the East Coast. We're going to go to our first 2-minute commercial break of the hour.
Quán hát duy nhất Hà Nội.
Bác nào mà nghiện cái này rồi.
就看着你了，这种风台也是桑皮。
7-11 here on the East Coast this Wednesday morning. It is October 9th, and giving you a live look out in St. Petersburg, Florida. You can see we are getting some illumination there in the sky. The sun's starting to come up, but there's so much cloud cover. You're not going to get that beautiful skyline shot that you would expect to get for the sunrise on this Wednesday morning. As we continue with the very latest of this storm, I do want to share some of the latest information. So right now we are working, my producer, we are working to get this information to you in real time. So bringing this to you folks as we continue to track the very latest for Milton. So bringing this to you, I want to share this with you in real time. So on the left side of your screen, you can see Milton, currently a Category 5 hurricane with maximum sustained winds of 160 miles per hour. It's currently 300 miles southwest of Tampa, moving northeast. There, pressure just continues to rise. A hurricane warning remains in effect for Central Florida from the Gulf of Mexico to the Atlantic Ocean. A tropical storm warning is in effect for Florida's southwest Gulf Coast, south of Bonita Beach, and South Florida, south of the Palm Beach County line, including Miami-Dade County. So all of Florida will be impacted from this storm. Milton classified as one of the most powerful hurricanes on record. I say that to say, if you're wondering, do I need to evacuate? Now is the time to do so. Honestly, if you have to question it and you're living in the Sunshine State, you probably should. If you are in an evacuation zone, there's no question. And then look, we've all seen those videos floating around on social media, right? People saying they have nowhere to go. Well, there are shelters across the Sunshine State willing to take you, your family, and even your pets. Yes, you can bring your pets as well. Do not leave your furry friends at home to weather this storm alone. On top of that, if you're concerned and want to leave your vehicle, Uber is actually giving free Uber rides to these shelter destinations. So you do have a lot of options as we continue to track Milton together. We just want to make sure you are prepared and understanding this is a very serious situation. I want to get back to the shot out in St. Petersburg, Florida, as we continue to track Milton. You can see under that skylight there, it is raining at this hour, and this is just the very beginning of the worst that is to come. Our content partners over at Fox 13 Tampa, they do continue with team coverage. Let's check in with them now.
Is not directly associated with Milton.
Hôm nay em đi chợ, em mua đồ. Con em ta mua rau. Ra mua rau xong, em nhặt cái này, ăn được cửa. Xong rồi, cô bán rau hỏi là, ê, tại sao lại ăn đổ xuống hả? Thì em trả lời là, dạ, ăn đổ xuống nó ăn được mà người Việt Nam không ăn à? Thì cô bảo là người Việt Nam không ăn xuống đâu. Người Việt Nam chỉ ăn xào với luộc xào với luộc thôi. Nhưng mà người Lào thì ăn sống mọi người nhá. Bọn em ăn sống bình thường thôi. Bên Lào em không ăn như thế này, không sao, chấm với nước chấm cũng được. Anh ơi, cho em hỏi, người Việt Nam có ăn đỗ sống không? Người
trong Nam thì có. Đây là người miền Bắc của Việt Nam. Thực ra là cũng ăn được nhưng mà cũng tùy từng khu vực ấy.
À dạ vâng, dạ. Dạ vâng, em mới biết là người Việt Nam thì không ăn đỗ sống đâu ạ. Nhưng mà mọi người nếu mà muốn ăn sống thì mọi người phải rửa sạch nhá.
Nói là từ nghỉ trưa thì anh phải để ra nghỉ chứ. Con trâu con bò nó còn được nghỉ đúng không hả Cường? And that's going to start the process of weakening. Problem is, it's a Category 5 hurricane this morning, so it's got to undergo significant weakening before, making the coast. And I think it will weaken a little bit. But look, I mean, this is the official forecast from the Hurricane Center. Making landfall, borderline Category 3, Category 4 storm at 2 o'clock tomorrow morning. That late. So again, this brings the worst of the weather tonight. Dark, middle of the night. I know it's a terrible time for it, but that's what's going to happen. And then, whatever this storm is, whether it's a 2, a 3, or a 4, it's going to go right across the state, bringing those hurricane force winds all the way to the East Coast. Tampa, Lakeland, Clearwater, St. Pete, we're still in the cone. We're still in the cone. And a 20-mile jump north, and now you got a bigger problem for storm surge in Tampa Bay. The way the storm is going to work is this. Areas right where it makes landfall into the south, highest storm surge. That's your 10 to 15 feet. Areas 30, 40 miles north are going to get the most rain. And I mean a lot of rain. We'll get to that in a second. 10 to 15-foot storm surge, that is the forecast still. And here's why they haven't changed the forecast for Tampa Bay yet. Because the forecast for landfall is right about there. Okay, you see that? Where my hand is? If it jumps 20 miles north, now it's in Tampa Bay. You see, they can't let their guard down with this forecast surge. But if it follows that path to the south, this surge will be a lot less, and so will these numbers to the north. I'm just letting you know. These will have to continue to be adjusted throughout the day. My huge concern, besides, of course, where it makes landfall in the storm surge, is the amount of rain. We're already getting a lot of rain out there, and there's a lot more to come. Here's 2 o'clock this afternoon. Your storm, again, weakening a little bit, but transferring its energy to these bands of wind that are going to roll through. They'll get a little bit bigger. They'll get a little bit stronger. We'll expand that wind field out. By 5, 6 o'clock, look at the rain coming in to the coast. 7, 8, 9. Notice the southern part of this storm, not a lot of rain. There'll be some, but most of it's going to be to the north, and this is what's going to cause some significant issues from Tampa to Orlando. I'll bet tonight we're going to get, flash flooding right along I-4. We really will if we get this much rain. Then, as the storm makes landfall, it's still raining from Tampa to Orlando. Areas to the south, not as much. So where it makes landfall to the south, huge storm surge, still 10 to 15 feet. But to the north is the rainfall. The excessive rainfall outlook is high. It doesn't get any higher than this from Tampa to Orlando. Let me go through the impacts real fast. This is for Hillsborough and Pinellas. This is what you guys are wanting to know, right? This will change the storm surge 10 to 15 feet. If it goes in south, that number will go way down. But we are expecting wind gusts to 100 miles per hour. When? Past midnight. Rainfall 8 to 12 inches with isolated amounts as high as 18. Keep that in mind, folks. That would be a tremendous problem if we had that much rain. Winds in our northern counties, maybe gusting 60 or 70, possibly 80. We may adjust that down a little bit. Storm surge only 4 to 7 feet. Rainfall 8 to 12 inches. Again, there's a higher tornado threat for our inland counties later this afternoon and this evening. Rainfall amounts 4 to 8 inches, but winds could gust to 90, and it's all going to depend on where the storm comes on shore. Because if it works across southeastern Polk County down into northern Highlands, Sebring, Avon Park, Lake Wales, you'll see the highest wind gusts inland. So the highest wind gusts are going to follow the path of the storm, which will follow with you all night long. And then to the south, winds gusting to 120 perhaps. Of course, they'll be closer to the center. Storm surge of 10 to 15 feet and rainfall 4 to 8 inches. That's what we are anticipating. We're here for the duration of this event, Jen, and what we're going to do is continually update these numbers for you, okay?
Yes, so we want to keep reminding our viewers that now is the time to evacuate if you haven't already, and you are in an evacuation zone. I have a couple of viewers messaging me, asking me about the conditions along I-4 and I-75, two of the main thoroughfares that drivers will likely be taking as they exit out of the Bay Area. So I-75 in the area of State Road 54, we saw it jammed yesterday as drivers got out of Dodge. Not seeing any heavy volume just yet along the northbound lanes of I-75. I'll let you know if that does change. Do want to remind drivers that tolls have been suspended by order of the governor. So if you're traveling along, let's say the Sunshine Skyway Bridge, which you can see here, you don't have to worry about paying tolls now or later if you won't get a bill in the mail. So 275 over the Sunshine Skyway Bridge. Yes, the big bridges are open. Getting a lot of questions as to when they will close. So the Sunshine Skyway Bridge is monitored by the Florida Highway Patrol. They will shut down the bridge if winds reach sustained winds of 45 miles per hour. FHP also monitoring the Howard Franklin and the Gandy Bridge, and once they deem it's necessary, then the Florida Department of Transportation will shut down that bridge. Corey Campbell, different police, the Tampa Police Department and the Clearwater Police Department will be monitoring the bridge there, and then they'll tell us when it's time to close the bridges, and they do expect this to happen by the afternoon, mid-afternoon, so we'll keep you posted on that. And it's time to check with Charlie Belcher with more on Milton. Good morning.
Good day to you, Jennifer. I am in Newport Richey. I'm at the Pasco County Emergency Operations Center. In fact, we'll give you a live look at what's happening inside the center right now. They're right about shift change. 7 o'clock in the morning, 7 o'clock in the evening, that's when they'll shift change here, and it is a jam-packed room, as you see, and these are representatives from all sorts of agencies and municipalities and infrastructure here in Pasco County. Keep an eye not only on the storm and its track, but they're also not worried about all this rainfall, where even if storm surge isn't what they're worried about as much now in Pasco County as the storm tracks to the south. All this rainfall will definitely cause localized flooding. So in that regard, sandbag locations will be open, but only until noon today. All sandbag locations in Pasco County will close at noon today. So if you're now worried about this rain flooding and you need to secure your sliding glass doors or something, make those
Cô gái chia sẻ trải nghiệm cá nhân hơi tế nhị vì khó và khuyên mọi người nên hết sức cẩn thận nếu gặp tình trạng tương tự.
evacuation here in Pasco for zones A, B, and C. Let me show you a graphic here of where, if you need to, as a last resort, if you need to head to one of these shelters, Centennial Middle School in Dade City, 5A High School in Hudson, Wesley Chapel High School in Wesley Chapel, River Ridge Middle and High Schools in Newport Richey, Sun Lake High School in Land O'Lakes, and Fasano Regional Hurricane Center in Hudson. Now, that's a special needs only shelter, the Fasano Regional Hurricane Center there. But you can see they're spaced all out. Dade City, Hudson, Wesley Chapel, Land O'Lakes. They're scattered throughout the county to make it accessible and easy for people who do need to depend on the shelters. And I will tell you, Jennifer, there are, as of right now, there are 3,112 people scattered throughout those shelters, 169 special needs folks in that special needs shelter, and 308 pets are in those shelters at the moment. Now, that's a very small number compared to the amount of people that live in evacuation zones A, B, and C, but hopefully most people in those areas went just to higher ground. Maybe they're staying with friends and family in another part of the county, or they evacuated, like we saw the roads jam-packed over the last couple of days. They just got out of here, and they're watching us from somewhere else. So, again, as this shifts to the south, the feeling is a little different here in Pasco County, but emergency officials want you to know, stay where you are, stay safe, keep listening to all this information, and we'll see what happens on the other side.
Yeah, definitely keep your guard up. And stay safe.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, Charlie. Thank you. We'll talk to you soon. And stay with us. More Good Day Tampa Bay is coming up. Dave will be right back with another check on the track of Hurricane Milton, including the expected landfall.
So as you can see, this is a very fluid situation. The sun finally up. Again, not a beautiful sunrise shot that you would expect to get out here in the Sunshine State, but you can get a better view at the rain that's already coming down. This is a live look out in St. Petersburg, Florida. And I'm kind of going to do a round robin right now just to show you all of the different camera shots we are now getting since the sun is up. This one takes us out to Fort Myers Beach. You can see this is at the Margaritaville Beach Resort there in Fort Myers, and you can see the wind gusts already kind of picking up. You can see the palm trees waving a little bit in the distance. So this will be an interesting shot to keep an eye on throughout the day to see how the wind gusts pick up as Milton continues to track closer to Florida. Another camera we just got in. This one just changed, but I know this is Anna Maria Island. So you can see how rain is coming down and how the walkway there is already wet. And so once that storm surge picks up in this area, that walkway will be, you won't even be able to walk on it. You won't be able to pass through it. It'll be impassable. So this will also be another one we're keeping a close eye on. So we'll continue to keep a close eye on all of these camera shots throughout the day. And I actually want to get back to this one because as soon as I mentioned the wind gusts, this one picking up there in Fort Myers. And you can see why. Here's a live look at
Ai đã từng đến đảo mà ăn món này một lần là thấy đảm bảo nghiện luôn nha. Không phải vì nó có gì đặc biệt mà nó được làm từ mấy con tôm đang nhảy tanh tách như thế này, hay mấy con mực phải nhấp nháy thì mới để lại được ấn tượng cho người ăn. Nói đến đây là mọi người đoán xem hôm nay thì làm món gì nào. Đó là món bún quậy đặc sản nổi tiếng của đảo Phú Quốc nhé. Cũng may nay đi chợ sớm.
As we work to keep you safe and informed right here on Live Now from Fox, we're going to take a quick 2-minute commercial break. We'll be right back.
Chia tay, tao sợ gì? Từ nay tao với mày ấy, không đội trời chung. Đứa nào mà quay lại trước dưới là không tao.
Ôi trời ơi.
Công nhận đấy, vừa bỏ thằng này thằng cái nhá, thằng đấy thoải mái thật. Nhìn mưa thôi không thấy ý nghĩa nữa. Mày nó không tin cho mình à? Thế là mày không định xin lỗi tao gì? Hóa ra là tình cảm của mày dành cho tao chỉ đến thế thôi đúng không? Tao biết mà. Nhớ nhỉ? Đồ cái đéo gì? Không có thằng này có thằng khác. Quá chuẩn luôn. Không. Anh ơi, tình hình là anh xem bài xem như nào vậy ạ?
Chắc chắn không phải là em đâu.
Hôm nọ em vừa xem TikTok đó đấy, là công việc chủ gửi cho em, là người yêu của em và đang muốn quay lại với em mà.
Em đi xem lại rất nhiều lần rồi, điều của em không bao giờ quay lại em nữa.
Em vừa mới triển khai
Tỏ này được không? Rồi mời anh em nhá. Thôi.
Tí xương nó mình không ăn hết mình.
Welcome back to Live Now from Fox 728 here on the East Coast, and you're getting a live look at our X-Track system. Milton, currently a Category 5 hurricane with maximum sustained winds of 160 miles per hour. The word is it's expected to weaken before it makes landfall, but will still be a major category storm. Joining us live this morning to further discuss is the expert himself, National Hurricane Center Director, Dr. Michael Brennan. Always a pleasure. Good morning to you. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, good morning. Glad to be with you.
So, Dr. Brennan, we know you have been following this storm from the very beginning. I would love to know what is the latest with this storm, because it did re-strengthen yesterday, and the concern at this hour, will it in fact weaken before it makes landfall?
We do expect the peak winds to come down a little bit, but that's not really the main story. We don't want people to get too focused on that. This is going to be a powerful, large hurricane. It's going to make landfall on the Florida West Coast later tonight, and so impacts are already starting. You can see heavy rainfall spreading out well in advance of the center, affecting the west central coast of Florida, Tampa Bay region, Orlando already. And again, the storm is expected to grow in size, making landfall tonight, bringing that risk for life-threatening storm surge inundation across the west coast, hurricane conditions across much of the Florida peninsula, over to the east coast as well, life-threatening flash flooding. There's also going to be a pretty significant risk of tornadoes that's going to develop over central and southern Florida during the day today.
Dr. Brennan, I know you get the messages and the emails all the time from people saying, should they evacuate? And honestly, if you have that question at this hour and you're living in an area close to landfall, that should be your answer, to evacuate. Do people still have time? Because we know it's already raining in some areas, and they're wanting to know if they have time to truly get out of the state if they wait until the last minute.
Well, that's the message. You don't have to get out of the state. You just have to drive maybe 10 or 20 miles to get out of the evacuation zone itself. But in places like Pinellas County, Tampa Bay region, some of these bridges and skyways are going to close later this morning. So you need to listen to what your local officials are telling you. But you are starting to run out of time here. Once those winds pick up, once they close those bridges, you're not going to be able to get off some of these barrier islands. And you don't want to be caught there when the water starts to rise. We've seen people trying to get out at the last minute who have died in storm surge events in the past, trying to get their cars, and their cars get swept away, and they perish in that type of environment. So please, if you can get out, please do so this morning.
Michael, we know many families are watching your coverage, and they're still in the cleanup process from Helene, and then now they're about to get hit again with Milton. Any words of encouragement or advice that you could share for those families that are heeding the warnings, they are evacuating, but at this point, they're just tired, they're confused, they feel like everything is bearing down on them in real time?
Yeah, and you really just have to try to focus on keeping yourself, your family, your loved ones, your neighbors safe. We can get through these types of events. We've gotten through them before. The recovery can be long and painful, and it's obviously very difficult to deal with multiple hazards and multiple hurricanes in the same area within just a couple of weeks. But the real focus needs to be on protecting yourself, your family, get to a safe place, shelter in place through the storm. Certainly by this afternoon through much of Florida, you're going to want to be in that safe place, get through the storm, and also practice post-storm safety. We lose a lot of people after these types of major hurricanes to accidents. It's an unsafe environment. Generators, people are using generators, they have carbon monoxide poisoning, car accidents, other electrocutions with down power lines. So keep yourself safe from the storm's hazards, but also safe from the aftermath.
Michael, I know different weather experts might have different outlooks on the storm, but obviously safety should be the number one priority. As we talk about storms weakening and strengthening, I heard one person say storms don't actually weaken, they just transfer energy. Is that true, and how does that relate to Milton?
Yeah, that's sort of what's going to happen with Milton. Right now, Milton is kind of small with a very high intense peak wind. As that peak wind relaxes a little bit, the storm's going to grow in size, so that energy is going to spread out. And that's what's going to lead to these life-threatening hazards that are going to affect much of the Florida Peninsula with storm surge along the west and the east coast, the potential for catastrophic freshwater flooding, and the potential for those hurricane and tropical storm force winds across the
Excuse me, sir, I haven't had anything to eat in 2 days. Could you please spare me
Dr.
some
Michael
change?
Brennan, always a pleasure. Before I let you go, anything else you'd like to add? I also want to ask you, could we get some relief after this? Because, again, we've been getting these storms back to back. People hoping they can finally recover.
Cô gái này yêu cầu thợ làm tóc tạo ra một con heo đứt từ mái tóc của cô ấy để cô có thể tiết kiệm tiền bất cứ lúc nào. Và người thợ bắt đầu làm việc như một Sigma thực thụ. Lúc đầu, nó trông giống một con gấu. Nhưng khi anh ấy cắt tỉa và tạo hình những sợi tóc, bạn có thể thấy tay nghề của anh ở một đẳng cấp rất cao. Sau một vài lần cắt nữa, nó bắt đầu giống một con heo. Cuối cùng, anh tạo hình chiếc mũi và thả đồng xu đầu tiên vào đó. Heo đất đã hoàn thành. Nhưng
Ôi, mọi người thấy là cái mặt bóng của mình đang là màu đen đúng không mọi người? Nhưng mình sẽ cho mọi người xem cái này nhá. Đây nha mọi người.
Dr. Michael Brennan, always a pleasure. Thank you so much for working around the clock to keep us safe and informed. I hope you and your family are safe and you enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks.
Giving you another live look at our XRAF system as we continue to track Milton right here on Live Now from Fox 734 on the East Coast. We're going to go to a quick 2-minute commercial break.
Em lại nhìn thấy họ đang câu con cá Aizu khá là nổi tiếng ở Nhật Bản.
Rất nhiều. Làm cách nào để tăng tốc độ bóng khi sút cũng chính là tăng lực sút. Đây là vấn đề khiến cho rất.
You can make me mad using one word. I'll do whatever you want.
You're ugly.
I said to use one word.
Yeah, okay. Ugly.
Not working. Ugly is not even that's not gonna be a word that gets me upset. You have any other words that might get me upset?
What?
Do you have any other words that might get me upset? Like one word to get me upset.
What?
Do you have a word that you think will make me upset? That way I can do whatever you want because it seems like that would be exciting for you.
What?
I think I'm making myself very clear. I don't think I'm not speaking English well for you to understand.
What?
What do you mean what? What do you mean what? If you can make me mad with one word, then I'll do whatever you want.
Women.
Người không nhặt được mùng trước những bộ quần áo được quyên góp gửi đến bà con vùng lũ. Ý là đi chạy lũ chứ không có nhu cầu tổ chức.
Chào anh em nhá. Ui ôi, mãi mượn ông xe đến đây, anh em muốn đâu chưa?
Cái thằng kia, cái con này, sao mày lại đánh chồng tao? Sao mà đánh? Chị đi hỏi chồng chị ấy. Ông lại làm cái gì rồi?
Welcome back to Live Now from Fox 736 here on the East Coast. It's Wednesday morning, and we continue to track Milton. I want to give you another look at our poll that we've been conducting this Wednesday. If you'd like to participate, just scan that QR code on your screen with your cellular device or go to livenowfox.com/connect. We want to hear from you. Have you established a plan for Hurricane Milton? 10% of you say I've already evacuated, 6% saying planning to evacuate, and again, you do still have time to do so. 50% of you saying you are sheltering in place, and 34% of you are saying you are not in the path of the storm. And speaking of the path of the storm, I want to give you one of the many live looks we are getting across the Sunshine State. This one, a new one, just coming into our Live Now from Fox feeds. This is Hillsborough Bay, as we continue to show you just the magnitude right now. Wind gusts not too high there in this area, but we know that will definitely pick up in just a matter of hours. We're going to check in now with our content partners over at Fox 13 Tampa as they are checking in with Hillsborough officials to give us the very latest of preparations underway.
13's Good Day Tampa Bay.
I got to tell you, for those of you that still have some things to do and places to go, I got a lot of rain out there for you this morning. Now, we're not getting a ton of wind yet. That's not going to come, at least the real strong winds aren't going to come until tonight. And I mean after the sun goes down. The sun's just coming up right now. But rainfall-wise, there's a heavy band of rain from Venice going northward into Sarasota, kind of running parallel there to I-75. Moderate to heavier rain amounts from Lutz to Tampa to St. Petersburg, and I don't expect that to let up much. And I got to be honest with you, folks, this is out ahead of Milton. This is not even really Milton itself. Notice that tornado warning that we have southwest of Clewiston. We're going to get to a point, especially in the afternoon, where we're going to be getting a lot of those little pop-up tornado warnings, and very typical with a landfalling tropical system. So here's a system. When we talked about Helene a couple of weeks ago, that was a storm surge nightmare, and it really was, but that's about all it was. This one is going to be not only a storm surge nightmare, but a rainfall and wind as well. And this is a multifaceted storm, and if you're not getting the storm surge, you're getting one of the other elements of it. And that's the way it's going to play out. Now, if you look at the storm itself, 160 mile per hour winds, the eye a bit clouded over this morning. I'm also noticing, too, if you look at the way the clouds are, do you see how they're beginning? I'm going to zoom in real close to where it is. Do you see how they're fanning out right there? Between this blob of moisture and Milton, see how those clouds are beginning to fan out? That is wind shear. Wind shear is starting to interact with this storm. Now, what that will tend to do is weaken the storm, but what it also does is it expands the wind field on the storm, so you trade one for the other. But there's no doubt that the wind shear is definitely playing into Milton right now, so it's reached its maximum intensity, and now the big question is how weak or weaker does it get before making landfall? According to the models, according to the Hurricane Center, this will make landfall right around 1 to 2 o'clock in the morning, near or between Bradenton and Sarasota, maybe 10 miles north, maybe 10 miles south, anywhere within that particular cone at about 2 a.m. with winds of 130 miles per hour. Notice on Tuesday afternoon at 2 p.m., it's still a Category 1 storm off the east coast of our state. So where it makes landfall to the east coast of our state, everybody is getting hurricane-force winds. Polk County, Hardy County, DeSoto County, Highlands County, probably Hillsborough County, Pinellas County, multifaceted. On and where it makes landfall, the heaviest storm surge. On and where it makes landfall north, the heaviest rainfall, and everybody with hurricane force winds. Valerie's here. We're going to break it down county by county for you coming up in about 10 minutes or so. A lot of weather to get through, get to where you're going to be at the latest by lunchtime today.
All right, Dave, thank you. And all across the Bay Area, businesses have been boarded up in preparation for Hurricane Milton. This footage was taken at a restaurant on Kennedy Boulevard in Tampa. The business sharing messages of support for the community, writing Tampa Strong, and thanking the locals for their support, and finishing the signs off with hearts. It's nice.
Yeah.
It's the little things right now. All right, we're getting another update right now on the last-minute preps from Hillsborough County.
Sheriff Chad Chronister joins us live now with the latest on things. Good morning, Sheriff.
Good morning, Russell. How are you?
We're okay. How are you guys doing?
I'm good. You know, preparing for sleeping on the floor again, just like you.
I have an air mattress here. It's not quite as bad.
I have a couch that I thought was a lot more comfortable when I bought it.
But we just got to do this for a few days, let's hope. All right, get us up to speed on where we are with Hillsborough County right now.
have to tell you what, I'm happy. There's a ton of people that have evacuated. I watched the interstate the last 2 days. I saw the long lines at convenience stores, at gas stations, at grocery stores. People are heeding the warning. So we've been out and about all night, making sure we're patrolling those evacuated areas and still giving requests, asking people who, hey, I'm on the bubble. I don't know whether I should leave or not. Hey, listen, it's time to go. We're in the 11th hour now, and it's going to start getting really nasty here. The time to go is now.
Give me what you think is the last hour. We still got a few more hours to get out if you've been on the bubble on this, right?
Absolutely. I know the county, everyone's saying 7 a.m. is the cutoff, 7 a.m. is the cutoff. There's a lot of bad things that are coming with this storm. One advantage of the storm slowing down, the only benefit I could see is it's giving us more time to prepare. I'm hoping people take advantage of that opportunity. There's still time to leave. But anytime after lunch, as Dave was just talking about, it's going to start getting nasty. We're already feeling the effects from the bands on the outside. We're already seeing some flooding, a foot of rain. The already saturated areas, where's this water going? And then you add a bunch of wind when trees are going down, and then depending where this storm wobbles and storm surge, it's going to be scary.
As what Dave is saying this morning, what the Hurricane Center is saying, at this point, it looks like landfall, Sarasota, Manatee County, somewhere in there. But for Hillsborough County, that's going to mean, Dave says, a ton of rain.
And that's the problem. We're already overly saturated. Our drainage system, our sewage system, they're already at full capacity. So we're going to see flooding. And again, we're always more worried about water than wind, right? Wind comes down, a tree goes down, we get uncomfortable, we lose electric. We can restore that, and they do a really good job at it. How about flash flooding, the flooding, and some of this storm surge? Again, we're going to feel some type of catastrophic effects from this storm, and the way it wobbles, that'll be the indicative of what those effects are.
I know at your office it's all hands on deck, but we got some video of some of your newest recruits who are jumping in and helping, right?
Russ, I have to tell you what, I'm always telling you stories. Probably get bored of me telling you stories about how the 4,000 men and women make me so proud. We tell the recruits, our new cadets, hey, listen, you can go home, settle in. They all put their head down. They got mad. They're like, no, we don't want to. We want to stay here. We want to help. We're sheriff's office employees. Every single one of them volunteered. Hey, listen, we're here. When the storm passes, we want to be out there and we want to help too.
Hey, Sheriff, we got to go. I almost just said Chad, and I get in trouble every time I do that. We got to go. What's your last word?
Listen, the time to go if you're in those evacuation areas are now. Find a place to go. Find a place, shelter. The time is now.
All right, Sheriff, we'll talk soon. Thank you. Be safe, okay?
Thank you.
It's a problem when he's your best friend. What do you want to say? All right, let's head down to Sarasota County now, where you could see some of the biggest impacts from this storm.
Fox 13's Matthew McClellan joins us live from Sarasota now with the latest on this. Matt, good morning.
Good morning, Laura. We're seeing that rain beginning to come down pretty heavy. This is the Bayfront area. Dave says these showers we're seeing in Sarasota are not related to Hurricane Milton. This is just a coincidental system that's coming in ahead. But emergency officials in this county really strongly urging people to take heed. And I know you all just spoke with Sarasota County in the last hour, saying that this will be a catastrophic hurricane for the Sarasota County area. Officials urging everyone to fully understand what these impacts could bring, and a warning for folks who decided to stay. This area will see a tremendous amount of storm surge, upwards of 10 to 15 feet along the coastline, and right on the other side of the intercoastal areas near rivers and creeks also under threat. This storm surge is incredibly powerful, and it's going to move across the barrier island. It's going to reach the mainland area. It'll go in for multiple miles. To our south on Siesta Key, we spoke with some folks there who just were cleaning up from Hurricane Helene. They obviously had their work cut out for them there, but now they're going to be dealing with another hurricane and likely more powerful. I want to take us to a bit of the interview that Russell just did with emergency management out of Sarasota County, because she's got some strong words for the folks who have decided to stay.
Even if we get the low end of the forecast, 10 feet
is going to demolish many homes out there, damage structures. We don't want anyone trying to swim out of their house for this event. It is not worth staying there. Please leave if you were on a barrier island or anywhere near the intercoastal way, rivers, creeks. This is going to be a serious storm for Sarasota County.
Now, another thing to keep in mind, the storm has extremely high winds, and even if it were to, by some chance, downgrade before landfall, it is going to be enough to knock out power. Emergency officials say they are expecting damage to buildings, damage to infrastructure, with downed trees blocking roads. They say that those blockages, that limited access on the roads, Russell and Laura, could last for days. So as we come back out here live, I'll show you the Ringling Causeway behind me. Of course, it is closed to anybody coming on, but it's open if people still in these final hours want to evacuate and get out of here, which is the call to folks at home. If they have decided they want to stay, there is still a sliver of time left. Those lanes open for people leaving.
I know, and even as this rain comes down, it is scary already out there on the roads. All right, Matt McClellan, live for us this morning. Matty, thank you.
Well, much more to come on Hurricane Milton.
We'll be right back. Dave's got another update.
Like many voters, Lane is open to Amendment 3.
All right, so a lot of information being given in real time, and right here on Live Now from Fox, we want to update you with the latest we are getting into our Live Now from Fox Studios. Milton, currently a Category 5 hurricane with maximum sustained winds of around 160 miles per hour. Now, Georgia's Governor Brian Kemp, he's issued a state of emergency for 38 counties ahead of Milton's arrival. A tropical storm warning is now in effect for the Georgia coast. So as you can see, states along with Sunshine State, so the Peach State, Georgia, also impacted. Milton expected to weaken before it makes landfall, but the storm will still be a major hurricane, estimated at Category 4 strength when it comes ashore. This will happen likely south of the Tampa Bay area. Our Fox weather partners are forecasting calls for that landfall between 1 to 3 a.m. early Thursday morning. Milton expected to retain Category 1 hurricane status as it moves across Florida, and that's why right here in Central Florida, we are also bracing for remnants of Milton. A storm surge of 2 to 5 feet is forecast for parts of the Space Coast, so they are also being impacted. And then authorities have issued mandatory evacuation orders across 11 Florida counties with a combined population of about 5.9 million people. So this is a very serious situation. And make sure you're staying tuned right here on Live Now from Fox. We will have coverage all day long, 24-hour coverage as we are working to keep you safe. Milton to strike Florida as a major hurricane, one of the most powerful hurricanes on record. 7:50 here on the East Coast. Let's go to our final 2-minute commercial break of the hour. We'll be right back.
We've got a big one coming.
Hurricane Milton is barreling towards the west coast of Florida. The powerful storm could make landfall either late Wednesday or early Thursday, striking the...
Welcome back to Live Now from Fox 752 here on the East Coast. I'm Jeanne Francine, and we continue with our extensive coverage tracking Hurricane Milton, still a Category 5 hurricane. We're getting several live images into our Live Now from Fox studio. Since I last showed you all this shot, things have really picked up. This is a live look out along Anna Maria Island. You can see the waves crashing now against that walkway. Also, the camera shaking back and forth, showing you the wind gusts that are underway right now. So this continues to be an ebb and flow, fluid situation. And if you remember the last time I showed you this shot, the waves weren't even crashing as they are now. So things are definitely picking up. Furthermore, why you need to evacuate now if you are in an evacuation area. We know several areas of Tampa are in evacuation zones. They have been told to evacuate several days prior to today. We're going to check in with them now as they have full weather coverage. Also, a live update from Tampa's mayor. Let's listen in.
7:43, and here we are. It seems we've been tracking this storm for days, and we're waiting for it, and now it's here. Valerie joins me. Good morning.
Good morning. Happy to be here. Help you out a little bit. It's going to be a busy day ahead, busy right on through Thursday.
And that's the key, is people have to realize the worst of all of this is not going to happen until overnight tonight. But we'll get into it right now because we have some rain out ahead of the actual storm itself, which is what I'm kind of focusing on this morning. And it's been raining for a couple of hours now in the Tampa area. Some very heavy rain has been moving right along the coast from south to north, just running parallel to I-41. Venice up to Gulf Gate Estates, Sarasota, Bradenton. I got real big old round of heavy rain coming at you in about 15 minutes or so. And then it's just kind of light to moderate rain for everybody in Hillsborough and Pinellas County, most of Polk County as well. Notice the absence of some rain now in Highlands County and DeSoto County. And then to the south, of course, you see this polygon. That's a tornado warning. I'll bet that will be allowed to expire, but we're going to get a lot more of those as the day rolls along. Maybe not so much early this morning, but this afternoon and this evening, as Milton gets closer, you're going to get more of those little spin-ups, especially in our inland locations. Satellite picture. Up until about 30 minutes ago, we had this discernible eye, and now it's been kind of clouded over a little bit. However, on radar, they're still showing some lightning around the eye. So here's what's happening. Milton is trying to intensify, but now it is running into that wind shear, and you can see it as the cloud cover from the northern part of that eye wall starts to get pulled. You see it? That's wind shear. So it's trying to intensify, but it's undergoing wind shear, and what eventually it's going to do is the storm will weaken, but it will distribute its energy and push the winds out, or the strong winds out, further. So the hurricanes don't lose their energy like that. They just transfer it as they're getting that, as it's going from a Category 5 and dropping down because of that wind shear. The question is just how much do those winds die down before making landfall? And therein lies the big problem that we're going to have. This could potentially make landfall as a Category 3 or 4 hurricane, very close to Manatee, Sarasota County line, somewhere in that particular range. However, from Pinellas County to southern Sarasota County, that's your cone this morning. A major hurricane is going to make landfall in that area tonight, but not until after midnight. I know, we got a long day, we got a long night, and Valerie, now that we have honed in on about where this is going to make landfall, we can talk a little bit more about the storm surge. So I'll have you do that.
Yeah, exactly. And as we've seen that kind of subtle tweak to the south, here's the latest thinking with our storm surge forecast. Now, we have seen those numbers kind of bump up as we look more to those Sarasota down to the Port Charlotte areas. We are still looking at the potential for 10, 15 feet would be on the high side, that coinciding with the high tide. So somewhere in this area, we are expecting part of the coast to receive upwards of that amount of storm surge at the height of this event. And you can see a slight slight tweak then for parts of Pinellas up to the north as we've seen that subtle change to the south. The likelihood of these major storm surge impacts for areas north are starting to lessen. Now, we're going to keep a close eye on this with any potential changes in the track. We may see some adjustments to these surge numbers as we're really focusing in now on areas further to the south. As of course, we've been saying it's right along and to the south of where that landfall occurs, where we are anticipating the highest, the maximum storm surge from this area. So with that subtle tweak to the south, that is something that we're closely watching for any additional adjustments as far as mainly our storm surge, but all of our local impacts as well. So we take a look at our Fox model here. The storm continues to make that jog toward our coast. And so we continue to see these rain bands start to pick up in intensity as we head through the afternoon, but particularly the evening hours. And notice all of this massive amount of heavy rain that's going to be focused on the north side of this storm. That is going to be a big problem for areas well away from the coast. This storm bringing a lot of multifaceted threats. It's the storm surge along the coast, but now we're looking at some big rain totals to be possible here. So even areas up into, say, the northeast coast, looking at the threat for some major rain totals to move through right on through Thursday. Look at all of this heavy rain as we get on into our Thursday morning. So with that, it's going to be packing a punch as far as these wind gusts. We'll start to see those 80, even upwards of 100-mile-per-hour gusts as we get into those evening and later night hours as that center of circulation starts to approach. And of course, those maximum winds will be felt right around where the storm moves on shore. But look into the overnight hours. We're talking 60, 70-mile-per-hour gusts to be possible for our inland areas. So this storm is going to maintain as a strong hurricane as it crosses the Florida Peninsula. And I mean, look at these rain totals. We're looking at the potential for isolated up to 18 inches in this pink color, which includes Tampa Bay right on across through Orlando, Daytona Beach. In general, area-wide, 6 to 12 inches. But there is going to be that chance for some of those heavier rain bands to drop over a foot of rain, and that is going to be a big problem for flash flooding, especially seeing those rivers swell up. We're going to continue to watch for that as well. And then you notice as those rain totals kind of dip off 4 to 8 inches as we head just north and just south of those areas. So as far as our local impacts, we'll continue to bring you more updates as far as those are concerned. Dave and I will be here all morning long with more impacts to come.
Okay. Thank you. No. Well, we're now getting another update on the last-minute storm preps for the city of Tampa.
And we're joined right now by Tampa Mayor Jane Castor. Good morning, Mayor. Thanks for being with us.
Good morning. It's so good to be with you, Laura and Russell. It's been a while.
Yes, it has. I tell you, these next few days are going to be tough for all of us, but we're so glad to have your leadership. Okay, so we know these storm surge predictions for the Tampa Bay area are historic, 10 to 15 feet. What is that going to look like for the city of Tampa?
Well, you know, when you look, I remember back when Hurricane Charlie, I was a police officer, and they talked about 10 to 12-foot tidal surges that would crest at the interstate. So through South Tampa, downtown. I mean, people need to take this seriously. There is no waiting to see what happens. People need to heed the evacuation notices and orders, and I think people are doing that. We're actually, or the Hillsborough County is actually opening additional shelters, so we're getting people out of the surge areas.
You've had some pretty dire warnings for people in those evacuation zones who choose to stay. We had Chief Lee Burkall here on the show yesterday. He said he was on Davis Islands, and there are people there that still insist on staying. I mean, that's basically like a barrier island.
Right. And I tell you, all my time, police department, I've talked to a lot of people that chose to stay through a hurricane, and to the person, they said, I will never do that again.
Yeah.
Thank you to our Tampa team as we continue to dip in and out of their coverage here as we continue to track Milton, which is set to make landfall early Thursday morning. Thank you for joining us here on Live Now from Fox for our coverage. My name is Christy Matino. I'll be here the next 2 hours. We did want to give you some live looks at our cameras as we do get these into our newsroom. This is Fort Myers, Florida. You can see it looks still pretty calm there as of right now. And for perspective, Fort Myers is about about 2 hours south of Tampa, about 30 minutes north of Naples, Florida, if you are familiar with the area. We did want to give you another camera look here, as this is over in St. Petersburg, Florida. And you can see it's a little bit of a different story. It is a bit rainier over there as we continue to track this. And I am going to leave this image up as we recap really quickly what we know so far. We just got some new news on the storm into our newsroom from Fox Weather. And here's the latest. Landfall is likely along Florida's Gulf Coast, somewhere between Madera Beach and Port Charlotte around 1 to 3 a.m. Eastern time. We continue to fine-tune this exact track, which is complicated, according to Fox Weather, because of some small wobbles in the center track of the storm over time. We did also want to talk about the intensity. Milton will weaken a bit on approach to Florida, but again, we want to emphasize here that that isn't going to make much of a difference because it is now forecast to make landfall as a dangerous Category 4 major hurricane. So again, just because the storm is weakening a little bit, it is still going to have a major impact, and that's because its wind field is going to expand, causing more widespread damaging winds and a storm surge for Florida. But the impacts won't dramatically lessen as the storm weakens. Again, we are getting this just into our newsroom, and we are going to continue to update you. One last thing before I head to our next interview here is NOAA's Weather Prediction Center is not mincing words this morning. They're saying widespread and numerous instances of flash flooding are expected, with life-threatening and catastrophic flash flooding probable. So again, please, please, please take this storm seriously. Just because it is weakening a little bit, that does not mean that this is not going to have a major impact. Well, I do want to bring in our next interview with the Red Cross. We are going to bring in Grace Meinhofer. She's the national spokesperson for them. And we are going to break down how they're responding, how they're preparing. Thank you so much for joining us on Live Now from Fox this morning. Let's just jump right in here. The volunteer response, how many people are on the ground? I do know you did just send some volunteers from Utah the other day.
Thank you, Christy. We have over 2,000 volunteers that are responding in the areas of Florida, Georgia, and the Carolinas. 1,000 of them are here in Florida. I arrived yesterday myself from Puerto Rico, and we are ready to support the operation. Right now, our main focus is making sure that people are in evacuation centers, that they are in a safe place. The Red Cross have free positions, supplies, blood products, platelets, and again, manpower. So we're ready to support the residents here in the Florida.
And we've been telling our viewers just how powerful Milton is supposed to be, more so than, and right now, actually, we are getting an alert on our phone here. Seminole County, which is in Florida, issuing an evacuation order for Hurricane Milton. So this alarm is going off for us right now, and perfect timing, right? Because we are emphasizing just how serious this is going to be, more so than Helene. Can you tell us how you are preparing, even more so from that last hurricane we just saw?
Yeah, we responded 2 weeks ago to Helene, and now here we are again. Our evacuation centers are ready. Our warehouses are full of supplies. We have water, hygiene kits, cleaning kits, and everything that is essential for people to be safe at a Red Cross facility. Our evacuation centers are open to everyone. So come make sure that you have the resources that you need and that you're safe. And for those who are sitting at home right now wondering, what can I do? Please visit redcross.org, become a volunteer, make an appointment to donate blood somewhere outside of the Florida area, and make a donation to the Red Cross, because that is what allowed us to prepare for this type of disasters.
Can you tell us a little bit more about what supplies you are deploying ahead of this?
Right. So, for example, in the evacuation centers, there's going to be people can come and eat a fresh meal. There's going to be safe space. They can come charge their phone. Once the storm has passed, we're also going to have distribution of cleaning kits and supplies that are going to be needed for the cleanup, making sure that people are not going to get sick. And also in the evacuation centers, we have emotional support. We're going to have case workers that are going to be able to work with these residents and make sure that they have what they need now, but they also have what they're going to need for their long-term recovery. So we're going to be here for weeks to come.
The last question I want to ask you, I'm going to look at my notes here, because as of mid-September, the nation has already experienced $20 billion disasters this year. What are you doing to be able to expand your aid and recovery to accommodate this increase that you're seeing?
Yes, due to the climate crisis, we've seen that the disasters are more frequent, they're stronger, and we rely on the generosity of the people that support the Red Cross. We have millions of people that day to day donate to the mission of the Red Cross. So visit redcross.org to make sure that we can continue to provide the supply that the United States and the areas in the United States are going to be needing in the days and weeks ahead.
All right. Thank you so much, Grace, for joining us here on Live Now from Fox to give the latest. We do appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right. And we also, again, did just want to recap what we know so far of this storm. And I am going to pull up our XRAD radar system so you can take a better look at what we're seeing. Again, this information just came into us from Fox Weather about 10 minutes or so ago. Again, landfall likely along Florida's Gulf Coast, somewhere between Madeira Beach and Port Charlotte. And this is supposed to make landfall around 1 to 3 a.m. Eastern time. We're continuing to update that track, right, which is complicated because of the wobbles in the center track of the storm over time. Now, there is life-threatening weather. It will blast Florida when Milton hurricane hits tonight. The forecast calling for up to 15 feet of unsurvivable storm surge inundation from Tampa Bay to Englewood, Florida, which means some location within that stretch is expected to see storm surge up to 15 feet. Again, the storm's exact track will determine which areas see the worst conditions, which can be heaviest rain north of the storm center, worse storm surge flooding south of the center as well, and damaging winds. Here on Live Now from Fox, we are going to be talking to officials all morning here about the prep before, during, and after the storm. But for right now, we did want to turn over to our Tampa team yet again, as they are in continuous coverage right now. Let's head over there.
We're in a neighborhood right now in part of South Tampa that is under evacuation orders, mandatory evacuation for A and B. And what officials are saying right now is no matter what the track of the storm does today, you need to be following those orders.
Listen, the time to go if you're in those evacuation areas are now. Find a place to go. Find a place, shelter. The time is now.
Now in Hillsborough County, again, zones A and B, and anyone living in a mobile home or a manufactured home needs to be evacuated. And right now, fire stations across the area in those locations are evacuating as well. So fire stations located in zones A and B will not be staffed. They're evacuating their emergency crews to safer locations, to higher grounds. And that means that if you're in one of those areas and you decide to stay, they will not be able to respond to you until conditions are safe again. It's a big reason why they are urging